The first warning. The silence of space was deceiving. Beneath the stillness, however, the Galactic Empire's eyes had fixed their gaze upon Earth, intrigued by the anomaly of life in an otherwise barren sector of the galaxy. The Empire's quest for domination had spanned centuries, assimilating countless worlds, bending civilizations to their will with the cold efficiency of a machine. No species, no matter how advanced or resourceful, had ever withstood their advances for long. Yet Earth, a tiny planet in the far reaches of the galaxy, caught their attention with an inexplicable presence, an energy that couldn't be ignored. For months, the probe had wandered in silence, collecting data on distant planets, on worlds that were far more developed than Earth. But when it reached the distant blue and green world at the edge of the solar system, it stopped. The readings were startling. There was life on Earth, yes, millions of life forms bustling across its surface. But there was something deeper, something the probe couldn't fully understand. Energy emanated from the planet like a heartbeat that echoed across the stars, vibrant and pulsing. The Empire's best scientists scratched their heads, perplexed by the overwhelming data. For a moment, there was a flicker of uncertainty in the usually unwavering Empire. Had they miscalculated? Could there be more to Earth than they had initially thought? It was clear that the human race, with its limited technology, had not reached beyond the confines of their planet's atmosphere. They were primitive, stuck in an era that the Empire had long surpassed. And yet, their world radiated with an energy that was undeniably unique. The leaders of the Galactic Empire, seated upon their thrones in their dark, opulent citadel on the capital planet of the Empire, watched the data with cold detachment. For them, the inhabitants of Earth were a curiosity, something to be investigated and categorized like the many other worlds they had conquered before. And like all other civilizations, Earth would fall, its people subjugated to the will of the Empire, forced into assimilation, or wiped out if they proved troublesome. An order was given for a fleet to be sent, small in size but powerful in its purpose. They would come to Earth not as diplomats, not as friends, but as conquerors. The fleet would establish contact, evaluate the planet's resistance, and, if necessary, begin the process of subjugation. The humans, in the eyes of the Empire, were little more than another world to be consumed, another civilization to fall in line. The fleet, a sleek collection of starships designed for speed and precision, hummed with the power of advanced weaponry. The commanders were confident. After all, they had conquered worlds far more advanced than Earth. To them, this was nothing more than a routine mission, an insignificant footnote in the annals of the Empire's history. But as the ships advanced toward the planet, something changed. The air grew dense, heavy with an unfamiliar sensation. For the first time in centuries, a strange feeling of doubt crept into the hearts of the fleet's commanders. There was no fear, but there was something else. A gnawing unease, a warning they couldn't explain. The radio silence they encountered as they neared Earth unsettled them, as if the planet itself was holding its breath. The usual chatter, the usual hum of communication, had fallen eerily quiet. No transmissions came from Earth's surface. There were no messages from Earth's governments, no indication of a welcoming party, nor the typical defensive posturing the Empire had grown accustomed to from other civilizations. As they broke through the atmosphere, the fleet's sensors began to malfunction. At first, it seemed like a minor issue, but soon the problems escalated. Navigational systems flickered, instruments went haywire, and even the most basic of communication systems began to crackle and distort. Panic began to spread among the crew as the ships descended further into the planet's atmosphere. The starships, once sharp and precise, now seemed like helpless vessels at the mercy of an unseen force. The Empire's advanced technology, honed for centuries, was failing them in ways they couldn't understand. Yet the planet below them was still silent. No sign of attack, no military presence. It was as though the entire Earth had gone into hiding, as though every living creature on the planet was waiting for something. The first transmission from Earth was short, its tone calm yet resolute. It was a simple, direct message. Stay away. Earth is off limits. It wasn't a plea for help or an invitation for peace. The voice on the transmission carried no fear, no desperation. It was simply a statement, firm, unwavering. The humans were not asking for diplomacy. They were issuing a command. The tone of the message carried the weight of something ancient, as though this was a warning that had been passed down through generations, an unspoken rule that no one dared break. The commanders of the Empire's fleet were taken aback. For a moment, they hesitated. Could this be some sort of trick? Could this simple, unarmed species truly believe they could stop the might of the Galactic Empire? The leaders of the Empire, known for their cold logic and calculated decisions, found themselves momentarily questioning their judgment, but only for a moment. Arrogance, deep and rooted in the Empire's centuries of conquest, took hold once again. They dismissed the message, brushed aside the strange unease that had begun to creep into their minds, and continued their approach. "This is no more than posturing," the fleet commander muttered, and the decision was made. They would push forward. They would take Earth, as they had taken countless worlds before. And once Earth was under their control, they would move on to the next, another world added to the Empire's ever-expanding territory. The fleet pushed onward, descending deeper into Earth's atmosphere. But what they didn't know was that they had just crossed the threshold into a force far greater than anything they had ever encountered. Above Earth, the atmosphere seemed to pulse with a strange energy, like the planet itself was reacting. The Empire's ships continued to descend, unaware that their arrival had not gone unnoticed. The first shockwave hit as their ships breached the clouds, a massive, invisible force that seemed to shake the very foundations of the air itself. The fleet began to shudder. Weapons systems powered down. Navigational control spun wildly. The ships groaned, their engines struggling to maintain control. The once pristine fleet, so confident in its superiority, was now caught in a chaotic spiral of malfunction and confusion. The commander's orders rang out, but no one could hear them over the deafening screech of failing systems. Then, one by one, the ships vanished, disappeared without a trace. Gone in an instant. The crews had no time to react, no time to escape. Only the Earth remained, silent once more. The Empire had learned the hard way. Some doors should never be opened. Some warnings should never be ignored. And humanity, a species once thought to be insignificant, had just made the universe realize its mistake. The first encounter. As the Empire's fleet continued its descent, the once pristine ships now shuddered under the weight of the invisible forces around them. They were accustomed to the vast reaches of space, where nothing stood in their way. But Earth was different. There was a strange, almost unnatural pull to the planet, a force that seemed to distort reality itself. The commanders, who had once been so confident in their ability to conquer, now faced an unfamiliar dilemma. The first wave of ships, designed for high-precision operations, had been thrown into chaos. The command fleet was built to absorb shock and maintain control under even the most difficult conditions, but nothing in their training or technology had prepared them for this. Every sensor, every communication link, flickered and failed. A wave of disorientation spread throughout the fleet as they struggled to regain control. No enemy ships appeared to challenge them. No defensive installations emerged from the ground. Yet, something was wrong. The fleet commander, General Eric Jara, known for his ruthless precision and unmatched battle strategies, watched in disbelief as his flagship, the Scion, spiraled out of control. A sense of unease crept into his usually unshakable resolve. In the vastness of the galaxy, no species had ever resisted the Empire. Humanity, with its crude technology and primitive ways, had been nothing more than a passing curiosity, a blip on their radar. But now, it felt as though the very fabric of space was bending under the influence of Earth's unseen power. What's happening? Jara's voice was sharp, demanding answers from his crew. His officers scrambled, trying to assess the damage. The ship's control systems were barely functioning. Communication with the rest of the fleet was severed, and the artificial gravity systems flickered ominously. Nothing seemed stable. His flagship was no longer in control. Outside the observation deck, the sky was a swirl of shifting colors. Clouds, dense and swirling, seemed to pulse with a strange energy. The planet's natural atmosphere had been altered, as though the planet itself was alive, reacting to the presence of the Empire. And then it happened. A wave of intense electromagnetic pulses erupted from the planet's surface, so powerful that it tore through the fleet's most advanced shields like they were tissue paper. The first ship, a heavy cruiser, lost its energy shields in an instant. Then its outer hull crumpled, imploding as if crushed by an unseen hand. The crew had no time to react, no time to call for help. The ship simply disappeared from the Empire's scanners, erased from existence. "Shields are down," cried one of the officers aboard the Scion. The ship lurched violently, as if it was caught in the grip of an invisible force, the crew scrambling to maintain some semblance of control. Jera gritted his teeth, struggling to maintain composure. But his orders came too late. Another ship, a destroyer, was swallowed whole by a dark vortex that had opened in the atmosphere, spiraling downward toward Earth's surface. There was no explosion, no dramatic display of destruction. It simply vanished, as if the ship had never existed at all. No debris, no wreckage, just a gaping hole in space where it had once been. "Impossible," Jera muttered to himself. "This can't be happening." The remaining ships of the fleet were now on high alert, their commanders frantic as they attempted to regain control of their vessels. But every attempt to stabilize was met with failure. The planetary defenses were not conventional. They didn't rely on physical weapons or technologies that the Empire could understand. Instead, it seemed as though Earth had tapped into a deeper, more primal energy, something that resonated with the very essence of the planet itself. The fleet commander ordered his remaining forces to pull back. "All ships, retreat. We're not prepared for this. Fall back to the outer system. Regroup." But as he issued the order, it was already too late. The pull from the planet was too great. Even those ships that had begun to turn around found themselves trapped in an invisible grip, their thrusters firing wildly but unable to break free from Earth's magnetic grasp. At this moment, the humans finally made their move. Hidden within the depths of Earth's terrain, deep within underground cities and forgotten networks, humanity had been preparing for this day for centuries. They had observed the stars, the coming of ships from other worlds, but their technology was not designed to match the Empire's firepower. Instead, humanity relied on ingenuity, perseverance, and an understanding of the planet itself that no outsider could comprehend. A signal was sent from deep within Earth's core, a beacon of energy that surged through the atmosphere, amplifying the magnetic forces already in play. The signal pulsed outwards, sending shockwaves through the fleet's communication systems. It was a warning, louder, clearer, and more powerful than the first transmission the Empire had received. "Stay away from Earth. You have been warned." The voice was not one person speaking, but the voice of the planet itself, carried through the minds of every human who had ever lived. The Earth's energy was alive with history, with the collective will of humanity's resilience, and now it had manifested as a force that was beyond the understanding of any alien civilization. The Empire's ships were now completely disoriented. Their navigational systems failed completely, their advanced algorithms scrambling under the overwhelming force emanating from Earth. The fleet was being ripped apart by forces they could not comprehend. And then the impossible happened. The entire fleet, dozens of ships, the pride of the Galactic Empire, began to break apart. They were torn apart not by weapons, but by the very essence of Earth itself, as though the planet's will had reached into the fabric of space and shattered the fleet's technology. One by one, the ships dissolved into nothingness, a burst of light, a flash of energy, and then silence. General Jara, aboard the flagship, was the last to witness the horror. His ship, too, began to fracture, the once unbreakable vessel shuddering as the forces of the Earth's mysterious energy began to tear it apart. The commander watched as his ship's hull buckled under the strain, and as he gazed out at the planet below, his final thought was not of defeat, but of realization. Humanity was not the fragile species they had believed it to be. Earth was not a backwater world. This was a planet with a force far greater than any of them could ever comprehend. In the final moments of the battle, before everything was consumed by the Earth's power, the last message from the planet echoed across the galaxy, carried on the winds of space itself. Do not return. This is Earth's warning to the galaxy. Leave us in peace. The hidden power continued. The remnants of the Galactic Empire's fleet hung in the void, scattered and broken. Nothing more than a collection of burning husks orbiting Earth. The vast ships that once represented the pinnacle of alien technological achievement now drifted, their once pristine hulls twisted, shattered, and burned. The commanders, once certain of their supremacy, were now silent. Nothing remained of their advanced forces, no mighty fleets to regroup or launch a counterattack. As the wreckage floated in space, a deeper silence fell over the scene. The transmissions from the Empire's ships had ceased. The satellites that once orbited the planet, carrying signals of intent and messages of conquest, were now nothing but debris. Earth had spoken, and the galaxy had heard. But beneath this eerie quiet, far below the surface of the planet, a different story was unfolding. On Earth, in the quiet depths of its oceans, in the hidden recesses of the ancient caves, in the forgotten corners of its cities, humanity had prepared. For centuries, Earth's inhabitants had known that one day, an unknown enemy would seek to control them. They had watched the stars, observed the movements of alien fleets, and listened to the warnings passed down through generations. But they had not acted out of fear. They had waited. Earth had its own way of protecting itself, an ancient power that pulsed beneath the surface of the planet, a power that could not be matched by any alien force. As the fleet began its descent into the atmosphere, the first whispers of this hidden force began to stir. Earth's core, an ancient and powerful engine of energy, was not just a source of heat and magnetism. It was the beating heart of the planet, and in it lay a strength unlike any other in the galaxy. Deep within the crust, far beyond the reach of any probe or alien sensor, Earth's true nature had been hidden for millennia. The humans knew it. The ancient guardians of the planet knew it. And now the Empire was about to find out. When the galactic fleet began to fail, it was not due to mere chance. The humans had been anticipating this moment. The energy that powered the planet's defenses was ancient, drawn from the very core of Earth itself. It resonated with every living thing, binding humanity to the land they called home. And it was this connection, this collective consciousness, that allowed Earth to fight back. It wasn't just the humans who fought. It was the planet itself. From deep beneath the oceans, giant tectonic plates shifted, sending ripples through the Earth's crust. Massive unseen currents of energy surged through the ground, disrupting the flow of technology, interfering with the electromagnetic fields that powered the Empire's ships. The Earth had a heartbeat, a deep, resonating thrum that echoed across space, and that pulse sent shockwaves of energy outward, disrupting the Empire's carefully laid plans. On the surface, the humans watched as the first wave of ships were torn apart by the unseen power. And yet, they did not rejoice. They did not cheer. Instead, they stood together in quiet unity, knowing that the battle was far from over. This was just the beginning. The Galactic Empire had underestimated Earth and humanity on every level. What they didn't understand was that this wasn't a planet full of defenseless, primitive creatures. This was a world with an ancient power that no fleet could ever hope to conquer. As the fleet's communications continued to break down, the humans began to act. The planet's defensive systems, integrated deeply into the very fabric of its ecosystem, began to respond in ways that even the most advanced alien minds could not fathom. Communication between human cities and underground bunkers began to flow seamlessly. Systems once thought outdated now hummed to life, fueled by Earth's energy. Systems that had been developed in secrecy, hidden away from the prying eyes of spacefaring invaders. Humanity had known for years that they would have to protect themselves, and now, that preparation was paying off. Across the world, humans came together. The leaders of Earth, scattered across the continents, were no longer just leaders of nations. They were the orchestrators of a global defense, guiding humanity in this fight for survival. They had known that Earth had a power beyond the reach of any invader, and now they were tapping into that power, using it to defend their home. They did not rely on weapons of mass destruction. They did not deploy armies of soldiers. Instead, they used their ingenuity, drawing from the planet's deep well of energy, from the wisdom passed down through the ages. They were drawing from something more ancient than any empire, more powerful than any technology. The planet itself was their weapon. But even as humanity rallied and the Earth's power surged, the Galactic Empire was not so easily deterred. The fleet's surviving commanders, those who had witnessed their comrades' demise, knew that the situation was dire. They had never faced anything like this before. The Empire's pride had been shattered, their most advanced forces rendered useless by a force that they could not understand. But the Empire did not give up easily. As their systems failed, their resolve hardened. A message was sent from the command ship, a single desperate plea for reinforcements. The Empire would not be driven off by a primitive species, not when they had conquered countless worlds. They would send more ships, larger, more powerful ships, with weapons designed to destroy entire planets if necessary. This defeat would be temporary, and they would return stronger than ever. But even as the message was sent, Earth's response was already underway. The humans had learned from the first wave of attacks. They knew that the Empire would return, stronger and more determined. And so, they prepared. They began to build not just defenses, but a network, an interconnected system that spanned the globe, linking every corner of the planet's vast ecosystem in a coordinated effort. In the depths of their underground cities, in the remote forests, in the deserts and jungles, the humans were preparing for the next wave. They were tapping into Earth's ancient power, linking their consciousness with the planet's pulse. They were no longer just defending their world. They were becoming one with it, harnessing its energy in ways the Empire could never imagine. And as they did, the planet itself began to resonate with an even greater energy, a frequency that could be felt not just on Earth, but across the galaxy. The message was clear. Earth would not be conquered. Humanity would not be subjugated. The Empire had been warned, and the true power of Earth was about to be revealed. Humanity's resilience. The remnants of the Galactic Empire's fleet drifted in space, a testament to their arrogance and overconfidence. Their once feared armada, which had made worlds tremble in fear, was now a scattered collection of wreckage, scattered across the stars, consumed by Earth's powerful unseen force. The Empire's commanders, once certain of their superiority, were now forced to reconsider everything they had known about humanity and the planet they sought to conquer. But though the fleet had been defeated, the Galactic Empire was far from finished. They had faced setbacks before, and their vast resources allowed them to regroup quickly, rebuild, and come back even stronger. They would not abandon their conquest of Earth, not after such a humiliating defeat. The arrogance that had once led them to believe that no species was beyond their reach now made them more determined than ever to break the planet's defenses and assert their dominance. The leaders of the Empire's military began to formulate a new strategy. This time, they would not rely solely on their technology, their fleets, or their advanced weaponry. They would need to understand Earth itself, to study its defenses and its people in ways they had never done before. The once dismissed human race had proven to be a far more formidable opponent than they had ever imagined. And now, The Empire's most brilliant minds were set to uncover the planet's secrets, to find the weakness that would allow them to take it. However, what they didn't know was that humanity was far more prepared for this next stage of the conflict than they could have ever imagined. On Earth, the survivors of the Empire's failed invasion had scattered. The global defense systems that had emerged after the initial assault had not only held their ground, they had strengthened. The entire world had united, not just in defense of their planet, but in a shared vision for the future. Earth's inhabitants had proven their resilience in the face of adversity, but they had also learned an important lesson. They were not just defending their home from an invading force, they were safeguarding the future of their civilization. As Earth's planetary defense systems continued to evolve, so too did humanity's ability to unite. A network had been established, one that spanned the globe, connecting every nation, every city, every town. There were no borders, no divisions. In this battle for survival, humanity had become a single, united force. And the Galactic Empire, with its fractured sense of order and rule, had only just begun to realize the power that such unity could bring. The key to Earth's success, however, lay in the unique bond between the planet's inhabitants and the very land they lived upon. The Earth itself had long been a living entity, bound to its people in ways that the Empire could never comprehend. This was not just a world to be conquered. It was a world that would fight for its survival, and its people would stand with it. Humanity had unlocked something ancient, a force that transcended technology and weapons. It was the power of the planet itself, the pulse of life that connected every living thing, every tree, every animal, every human being. The more humans worked together, the stronger this bond became. The Earth's pulse had become their pulse, and in that connection lay a strength that was far beyond anything the Galactic Empire could ever hope to understand. The shifting tide. Months had passed since the initial defeat of the Empire's fleet, and Earth had been in a constant state of preparation. What the Empire saw as a fluke was, in reality, the start of a much larger campaign. A global movement that was orchestrated not just by governments or military leaders, but by every single person who called Earth home. From the most powerful leaders to the humblest farmers, everyone had a role to play. This wasn't just about defending Earth. It was about preserving humanity's place in the galaxy. The network of defense systems that had been quietly developed over the centuries, hidden from the Empire's gaze, was now fully operational. Across the world, vast underground bunkers and hidden bases came to life. These were not the typical weapons of war that the Empire had expected. No, humanity's defenses were much more subtle, much more insidious. Earth had tapped into the ancient wisdom passed down through generations, and in doing so, it had learned to harness its own energy, an energy that the Empire's most advanced technology could not even begin to comprehend. The ancient civilizations of Earth had long understood the planet's power, its ability to heal, to grow, and to sustain. Now, humanity was using that same power to fight back. But the Empire was relentless. As their new fleet of reinforcements neared Earth, their commanders thought they were prepared for anything. They had learned from their earlier mistakes. They would approach cautiously this time, send in smaller, specialized units to gather intelligence before launching a full-scale assault. But they were missing a critical piece of information. They had underestimated the planet's ability to adapt, to shift its defenses, and to strike back with a strength that no alien species could have foreseen. A turning point. As the Empire's reinforcements entered the system, the humans once again made their presence known. But this time, it was different. There were no fleets of ships descending from the sky, no massive explosions in the distance. The humans didn't need to fight with weapons. They fought with their ingenuity, their resourcefulness, and their unity. The moment the reinforcements arrived, the Empire's ships were met not by traditional defenses, but by a series of energy pulses that emanated from the planet's surface. These pulses were not just electromagnetic waves. They were waves of consciousness, sentient waves that disrupted the very fabric of the Empire's systems. The energy seemed to resonate with the ships themselves, sending shockwaves of disorientation throughout the fleet. The fleet commanders were baffled. Their most advanced technology, designed to handle everything from weapons fire to stealth, was failing in the face of this strange energy. Their ships shook, their engines sputtered, and their weapons systems went offline. They had no idea how to respond. And that was when the humans made their move. Across the globe, a vast array of human-made systems activated. Vast underground factories that had long been dormant hummed to life, crafting technologies unlike anything the Empire had ever seen. The humans had spent years developing new methods of energy manipulation, of enhancing Earth's natural defenses to such a degree that they now had the means to disrupt the very fabric of space itself. It wasn't just the planet's natural forces at work anymore. It was humanity's combined willpower, their ability to innovate, and their knowledge of the planet's deepest secrets. The Empire's reinforcements were cut off, their communications scrambled, and their ships disabled by energy pulses that they could neither track nor counter. And then, as the Empire's forces struggled to regain control, the humans launched their final weapon, one that was as old as the Earth itself. A massive surge of energy erupted from the planet's core, sending a pulse through the fabric of space that reverberated through the entire galaxy. It wasn't a weapon in the traditional sense. It was something far more powerful. It was a declaration. Humanity had survived. And the Galactic Empire had learned the hard way that no force in the universe could conquer Earth. The turning point. The Galactic Empire had finally realized the magnitude of the mistake they had made. Despite their immense technological superiority, they were being outmatched by a species they had once dismissed as primitive. Earth was no longer just a planet. They had discovered it was a living, breathing entity, one that fought back with an energy and power that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Now, after their initial defeat, the Empire was scrambling to reassess the situation. Their fleets, their weapons, their best efforts to understand the forces at play had failed them. The humans had done the impossible. They had won. But in the mind of the Empire's leadership, that victory was nothing more than a temporary setback. They were confident that their overwhelming might could still turn the tide. They would return. Behind closed doors on the capital planet of the Empire, war councils were held. Fleet commanders, engineers, and strategists gathered to discuss the next steps. General Jara, the commander of the fleet that had first attempted to conquer Earth, was called upon to provide answers. His reports, though deeply troubling, held a chilling truth. Earth was not a simple backwater world. It was a planet with power far beyond what the Empire had imagined, one that tapped into forces beyond their understanding. "We cannot underestimate them again," Jara said grimly, addressing the gathering of officers. "They have an energy that goes beyond technology, something rooted in the very core of their planet. We must find a way to counter it." His words were met with nods of agreement. The Empire's leaders, while shaken by the destruction of their fleet, were not willing to accept defeat. They had encountered strong species before, species that resisted, fought, and then ultimately fell to the might of the Empire. Earth's victory would be no different. This time, they would come prepared. The Empire's new plan was deceptively simple: attack with overwhelming force. They would not rely on technological superiority alone. They would turn the tables by exploiting humanity's greatest weakness, their fragility. They would send in an army, ground troops, who would fight on Earth's soil, infiltrating the planet's defenses and striking at its heart. It was a strategy meant to weaken the planet's resolve, to force humanity to accept their fate. But the Galactic Empire had not anticipated the full depth of humanity's preparation. Earth had not only harnessed its planetary power in defense, it had also learned how to read the movements of the stars. They knew that the Empire would return, and they had devised a plan to meet them head-on. The battle begins. The new fleet that was dispatched to Earth was unlike the one that had come before. It was vast. Hundreds of ships, each heavily armed and brimming with the latest weaponry that the Empire's engineers could produce. But this time, The Empire's force did not land with the confidence they once had. Earth had humbled them. General Jara, still reeling from his defeat, knew the stakes were higher than ever. This time, failure was not an option. The fleet's primary goal was to break the planet's defenses from the inside, to eliminate the source of the mysterious energy that had crippled their previous attack. But as the fleet approached Earth, the first sign of their impending destruction was clear. The electromagnetic waves from Earth, once believed to be an anomaly, now became a deliberate and strategic force. Humanity had adapted to the presence of the Empire in ways that even Jara had not foreseen. Earth's magnetic field, already powerful, was now charged with energy that disrupted the Empire's entire fleet. The initial wave of Empire ships, though heavily fortified, found their shields flickering and their weapons malfunctioning. The planet's resonance had been fine-tuned, and now it acted as an invisible barrier, blocking every Empire offensive as if the very atmosphere had become a weapon. "What is this?" Jara muttered, watching as his ships began to fall into disarray. The Imperial fleet had underestimated Earth's unity, its collective will, its determination to survive. Humanity had not just crafted weapons, they had crafted a defense system that made Earth nearly untouchable. In a matter of minutes, the ships that had come to strike the planet were already struggling to stay on course. The next phase of the Empire's plan was to land ground troops across Earth, but that was easier said than done. As they descended, gravity began to warp, pulling them in unexpected directions. Before they could even land, the Empire's ships were caught in another deadly shockwave, as if Earth's very land had awakened to defend itself. The fleet's landing crafts were scattered across the skies, out of control. Some were ripped apart by the same force that had crippled the Empire's ships. The rest were forced to crash land, far off course. On Earth, humanity had already anticipated this. The underground cities, secret military bases, and hidden defense networks were now fully activated. These weren't just mere weapons of war, they were intricate systems designed to tap into Earth's pulse. As the first of the Empire's soldiers made their way to the ground, they were met with an eerie silence, the stillness of a planet that was watching them, waiting for them to make their move. And then it began. The invasion of the planet's defenses. The ground forces the Empire had sent to Earth had never encountered anything like this. Humanity had crafted a defense that didn't rely on brute strength, but on an intimate understanding of their planet. In cities across the world, the Earth trembled as massive machines of war powered up, machines built to counter the invaders, designed not just to fight but to communicate with the planet itself. The hidden cities, which had long been overlooked by the Empire's scouts, suddenly revealed their true purpose. Towers of metal rose from the earth, like the fingers of an ancient beast awakening from slumber. These machines were not of typical design. They moved with a grace and speed that seemed impossible, defying the expectations of any spacefaring invader. Some were biomechanical, intricately tied to Earth's natural forces, capable of blending seamlessly with the environment. Others were massive, hulking machines designed for brute force. But all of them shared one purpose: to fight back against the invaders with a power unlike anything the Empire had seen. For the first time in history, humanity wasn't relying on conventional weapons to win a war. They were using the very planet they had lived on as their ultimate weapon. Earth had become their battlefield, their shield, and their strength. And the Empire was about to realize just how far humanity was willing to go to protect it. The Empire's forces, still disoriented from the planet's electromagnetic pulses, struggled to regain their footing. The invaders had thought they could break the human will through sheer force. What they failed to understand was that humanity's will was no longer just that of individual men and women. It was the collective will of every person, every creature, every plant, and every particle of Earth. And that force was far more powerful than any fleet the Empire could muster. The battle intensified as Earth's defenses came to life, one by one, in a coordinated effort to throw back the invaders. Massive tidal waves, created by the manipulation of Earth's gravitational fields, washed over the Empire's ground forces. Towering walls of stone and energy formed from the planet itself, trapping the Empire's soldiers in no man's land. The Empire, for the first time in its history, was the one being hunted. A global effort. The ground war was not just fought in one place. It was everywhere. Humanity's ingenuity had turned Earth itself into a battlefield, a war zone where every corner of the planet had become an active defense point. From the deserts to the jungles, from the icy poles to the dense forests, Earth was responding. And the message was clear. This was not just a battle for survival. It was a war for the soul of the planet itself. The Empire's soldiers, trapped in Earth's intricate web of natural and man-made defenses, had no choice but to retreat, desperate to make sense of the overwhelming forces they were now facing. The realization began to set in. The humans were not the weak species they had once believed them to be. They were powerful, resourceful, and willing to do whatever it took to protect their home. The tables had turned. The Empire had come to conquer, but humanity was now the one in control.